Hello, superstars, and welcome to What's Your Hero Radio, the radio talk show where I talk about heroes I really like. I'm your host, Maya, and in this episode, we're talking about the mother defying Pokemon rescuer, Lillie, from Pokemon Sun. I love Lillie. That's where we're going to start. I think she's an incredible character and a really, actually, incredible game that I love playing through. I personally played Pokemon Sun and it was my first Pokemon game, and it really has deepened my connection to the brand and actually really made me fall in love with it. And I would call myself a Pokemon fan now, and I want to buy every piece of merchandise with Lillie on it, which I think is the correct reaction to have to her. So, for the context of this episode, we're going to be talking about Lillie in Pokemon Sun, not the anime appearances, not the Ultra games, nothing outside of that, just because that's what I have relation to. I don't know what I could do with that. But that's the connection I have to Lillie, and that's the lens I viewed her through. Now, of course, Lillie's backstory is at the start of the game we see her rescuing the Pokemon Cosmog from Aether Paradise, and then at the first point of the game, we as the trainer character get introduced to her, and she's tells us that she's smuggling. Not smuggling. She's hiding this Pokemon from everyone and trying to get it back home. That's the story behind her journey and really the main plot of the game, but like the second plot to the trainer protagonist character. If that makes sense as a thing. So that's our main plot, and as the game goes on, we see Lillie actively pursuing that goal of getting Nebby. She affectionately named Cosmog Nebby. I don't actually remember why she names it Nebby. And I'm not going to remember in just this section. Anyway. But yeah, so consistently throughout the game, Lillie is doing her job. Not her job. Like, she's pursuing her goal of getting Nebby home, and then, of course, by the end of the game, she and the protagonist character end up evolving Nebby into the legendary. They get to go to the Ultra Dimension, but then choosing to let it stay with us. That's kind of the main story throughout, but also with a lot of pieces missing. And the reason those pieces are missing is because I want to tie them back into the central word of Lillie. If I had to describe her in one word, it would be compassion. Because Lillie is very compassionate throughout this whole game, Of course, to start off, she rescues Nebby from the Aether Paradise evil people. She runs away from her mother, who is, really kind of abusive towards her, and really makes her into this shy girl who really can't really do much of anything. Like that's where we find her, is she's this shy girl who couldn't do anything, so all she can do is run from her mother, from the Aether Paradise, from everything. She can't stand up for herself. She can't make a decision. She's runs away and she's still running. That's her character. She's a shy girl who doesn't know how to stand up for herself. But even through all of the abuse she felt, through that fear, she's still compassionate to everyone she meets. For Professor Kukui, she's his assistant and she helps however she can. And when you meet the protagonist, well, I guess when the protagonist meets her, you guys instantly become friends. Really, of course, the protagonist rescues Nebby Cosmog from the bridge, and then we get saved by the Island Guardian, but we still remain friends. And even really after you start the journey throughout the rest of the first island, Lillie really builds a bond with you that leads to the rest of the games that becomes more than I'm just Kukui's assistant helping out to being like, hey, we're friends through this and we're gonna do this, you know. As the protagonist, you sign on to help get Nebi home, and you two really just keep staying friends, and then you get to the well, what happens? Well, next, I guess next you meet the people who are studying the wormholes, who and the professor who Lily woke up next to, and all that stuff, and then you meet Acerella, and you meet Happy. I think it's Happy. That and Lily just really becomes friends with everybody. Lily is friends with Hal very affectionately. But over the game, you see this compassion connect Lily to others, and that's not even to mention that she doesn't like seeing Pokemon get hurt. She doesn't like seeing the Pokemon battle each other because she just thinks it's hurting them. But for those creatures, it's part of their lifestyle. And, it gives them spark, it gives them energy in life. So while she's still sad to see them get hurt, that's compassion. But she also lets them battle. That's also compassion. Like consistently, Lily is so compassionate to where it's her acting emotion. She lives in fear, but she still is building connection. And I think it all, of course, builds to a point where you all and Gladion, who I haven't talked about yet, but you all go to Aether Paradise, where Lily's mom, Lucamine, is taken Cosmog and is trying to destroy the. Well, she's not. Get what she's really trying to do, but she opens all the Ultra Wormholes, the whole thing, and you beat Lucamine in the battle, and Lily just stands there and takes all this abuse, but at the end of the day, the very next morning when you guys wake up, she's transformed. You know, she has all of these people around her from her compassion that she transforms into something lively. She breaks out of that shell, and slowly but surely she is learning to stand on her own feet, to journey her way. I think of when you to go into the big canyon, and there's a scene where she's like, "This is my Z-powered form," and then she runs across the bridge, and it's so simple, but like for her, it's such a big deal, and it's because you as the protagonist are there, and it's because Nebi is drained of energy and she wants to help it. It's just consistently this compassion that fuels her to better herself and become stronger. And I'll take a moment to mention. I'll take a minute to talk about Gladion here, because Gladion is her brother, and I called that really early on in the game. But by the way, I was like, yellow haired has a one of a kind Pokemon, or not yellow, blonde hair has a one of a kind Pokemon. Yeah, you're definitely Lily's brother. But yeah, of course, Gladion's story is not an exact parallel, but a big parallel where he saw this Pokemon that was being hurt by his mother, so he stole it and ran away to go on a journey to get stronger, so that he could protect it and that he could do right by really the universe and get back his mother. For Lily to follow after him but still be such a scared person, it really, again, it's showing how strong she is already, and it's showing that this compassion really drives her forward. And then you get to the point where you both play the flutes, and Nebi evolves into the legendary Pokemon. For me, it was Solgaleo, and then if you played Pokemon Moon, it would be Lunala. And I'm gonna say Solgaleo for this point, just for the consistency's sake. Solgaleo takes you into the Ultra Dimension where Lily lets her mother have it upon the next confrontation. Lily really lays it all out, all of her feelings that she was keeping inside, and this character and this woman that she was growing into on this journey from her compassion, not only because she's strong and she's telling her mother that she's mad at her, but also because she loves her mother. And it's that's her mom, and that's the character she is deeply bonded to. You know, after Lusamine disappears in the Ultra Dimension, Lillie asks to sleep in her mother's bed where they used to share because she loves her, because that compassion keeps driving her forward. And after you defeat Lusamine, Lillie even makes the decision to stay with her mother to help take care of her and help her get better. And I think it's a real testament to her strength and her compassion for her to do that. You know, and of course, she also lets you, the protagonist character, keep Nebi. You know, of course, Solgaleo now. And I think that's a real point in her character where this was a Pokemon that Lillie spent the entire game bonding with, much like you and your starter. So for me, I picked Litten. So Litten had been with me the whole game. Nebi and Cosmos, Nebi slash Cosmog had been with Lillie the entire game, and because she knows that her journey won't let Solgaleo live the life that they want to, she lets us have it. You know, she lets us catch it, and even if we try to give her the Pokeball, she denies it, and then she leaves to go protect her mother. And I just think that's beautiful. Not to mention, at the end of the game, Lillie leaves with her mom. They go to the Kanto region so that she could take care of her mom and that she can start a Pokemon journey of her own, because her compassion had grown her into a person that she was proud of, that she could go out and get stronger to be on par with the protagonist character, you know. Her compassion really grew her into a new woman, truly. And that's what makes her the hero of the story. You know, I'm sure there's some people who are like, if I'm doing an episode on Pokemon Sun, why am I not talking about the protagonist character, the trainer? And that's because I don't really think the trainer does much in the terms of the story. You know, of course, the trainer is all about completing the trial and earning the badges. Well, I guess you don't get badges, you get the Z crystals. But you know, it's really Lillie driving this plot forward so thoroughly with the game. I think she is the main hero of it because truly it's her story. You know, it's her story and she's the hero, and she's growing into a character that is strong and that is still keeps that compassion. That's why I think she's the hero of the story. Truly. In conclusion, Lily's great. I love her so much. I'm not going to do a voice acting corner this episode, mostly because I had nothing prepared, but I also don't know what. Well, it's like weird because Lily's in one of those weird areas where she doesn't have a voice actor in game, but she has one in the anime, and then she's. Yeah, so it's just a weird thing. So we're not going to do a voice acting corner this episode. If that upsets you, let me know. And I will see you next time, superstars.